or valuable should really operate. This can only emerge as a reality if you're actually voting for your ideal leader from an efficient political party. Right? So there are various possibilities on how an individual can vote. You have a polling booth, you have a postal ballot, right? In India, all voters who are actually eligible to take part in the process of elections, they are required to cast their ballot. First, of course, you have to register. Then you cast your ballot at the polling booth in person. In person, it is done because what happened in America recently, for when Trump lost the elections, he placed an allegation, which was not completely false, that because it was through postal balloting, because of the COVID era, people who were dead were also voting. I mean, it's not possible, but they made it happen. Okay, America was great again. They made even the dead vote. On a much serious note, to prevent this very factor, we have the need for people to ensure that people comes to the polling booth to cast their vote. Otherwise, what happens is any impersonator can take your position, and this would be disastrous. The next point we have is postal ballot. So in special cases, definitely voting can be done by post. This is what took place in America. But this is sometimes misused. Now, postal ballots, they are conducted for those individuals who are totally unable to visit a polling booth due to certain reasons. America, they took the COVID as a suitable reason. So, members of the armed forces, they are given these privileges, usually. Okay. Then, even individuals who are on election duty, like electoral officers, policemen, they are also given this privilege. It's a privilege. So, postal ballot can be granted to those people who are under preventive detention, because when they are being detained, they are unable to visit a polling booth and cast their vote in person. When I say preventive detention, I do not mean prisoners. Okay, criminals, they cannot vote. It's impossible. You have the logistical problem and various other issues. Okay. Moving on. Voting rights. You have the right to know. In fact, each and every citizen of India and around the world, they have to know about their candidates who are contesting. You have the right to information. It's a constitutional right, which empowers voters to actually seek information pertaining to the election manifesto of the candidates. Candidates are supposed to declare their income, their total financial worth, and also the criminal record. Unfortunately, we have many individuals who have a criminal record. Okay, but this is not something that I really want to delve into. Now, second factor, right not to vote. What is nota? It is none of the above. So it's a kind of a totally uninterested stance, but you have this right also. It's very much recorded. So voters participate in the election, but they choose not to vote for any of the candidates. It's like a boycott. Not an ultimate boycott, but in a way, they are disrespecting the opportunity they have. Okay. So special assistance are given to infirm or illiterate voters also. Because according to the guidelines framed by the election code, okay, voters who are in a position who are unable to cast their votes due to any sort of physical disability or any such infirmity, that is, they lack the stability, they are unable to cast their vote. Okay, they can't even cast their vote through the privilege of postal ballot. Then who do they seek assistance from? They can seek the assistance of an electoral officer who will take time out and address the need to actually record the vote of that particular citizen, because every vote counts. Now, earlier, NRIs couldn't vote. That is non-resident Indians. But today, there is an amendment made in 2010 which permits NRIs to register themselves as voters and vote in elections, even if they are not been in the country for over 6 months for any reason. But prisoners, they are not permitted to exercise their franchise as per the current law. This is reasonable, is what I would say. Then you have tendered votes, another right. So if you're declaring yourself as a voter and you seek to cast your vote, when actually there is a confusion because a vote has already been cast in your name, then what happens? In such a case, what will take place is, the individual, he can certainly cast his vote if he is able to prove the suitable proof as to or with regard to his identity. Then his vote will be recorded on a separate ballot paper as and when decided by the respectable election commission. Okay. Now, being a lawyer, I cannot be without citing one case law at least. Now, the Supreme Court of India in the year 2013, they pronounced a landmark judgment. A landmark judgment, that means it's a judgment that has huge value. It has huge impact till date. So on Friday, 27 September 2013, to be very precise, a bench headed by the Chief Justice P. Sadashivam, Justice Ranjan Prakash Desai, and Justice Ranjan Gogoi, who happened to retire recently, they were hearing a petition as far as PUCL, or People's Union for Civil Liberties versus Union of India, was concerned. So through this judgment, what happened is they were able to grant citizens of India a very important right. The right was to reject all candidates in elections. Now, the apex court, that is referring to the Supreme Court, the alternative name for the Supreme Court is the apex court. Right. So further, it was the apex court instructed the Election Commission of India, ECI, to make sure that the EVMs and ballot papers should have a button that will allow a none of the above option to be present. Okay. And the option, your voting is really, it should be conducted in secrecy. That should be respected. It went on to say, and I quote, negative voting would foster purity and vibrancy in elections, and negative voting would bring a systemic change in the election process, as the political parties will be forced to project clean candidates in polls, unquote. Right? That is the importance which is highlighted. You know, the Supreme Court was able to understand that people, they are supreme in a democracy. Now, how do you register your vote? There are two methods, either offline or online. Offline mode of voter registration, you have general voters, they need to fill out a so-called form number 6, and first-time voters and the voters who have actually changed the constituency. For example, if I'm going from Trivandrum constituency to another rural constituency, say Mandya, right? They are obliged to fill this form, and it can be obtained from any of the electoral registration office. Of course, it's free of cost. Once you fill the form and supply all your particular identity copies, such as of your ID, your address proof, a passport size photo to the officer, you will be registered as a voter and you get an election voter ID card. Okay. Now, online mode of voter registration, okay, you have the NVSP, right? Here also you have the form number 6. The documents and photograph will either be collected from your house or you will have to submit it to the nearest election office depending on based on the locality or region. So you need to understand that the process of voter registration actually, it gets agitated or it gets really speeded up during the election season. That is obvious. So it is advisable to apply for a voter ID before any general or state election. All right, you will get it really fast. To conclude, the right to vote is a fundamental right that will ultimately help our governmental system functioning. You should not waive it. It should not be neglected. It is simply never justified that you do not cast your vote or you partake in just resting at home rather than voting. You must partake in elections. You must see your particular right of voting as a duty, honest duty. So the right to vote actually grants you as an individual to make a better tomorrow for your country. You choose your representatives. Choose them wisely. You can make suitable changes according to the needs. And in fact, political parties, they will sense the needs of the people and strive for proper functioning. They will try to better themselves in every possible way. Before I open up for questions, I will just have a brief run through of what I discussed. Right? So we discussed a range of factors like how voting all took place, the elections, how they function in the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Prime Minister, presidential elections, how it infuses a sense of pride in us, the privilege to vote that should not be disregarded at any cost. Then the reason to vote, because we have the choice of leadership, we can change the leadership. It gives you a sense of political participation, self-corrective system for parties, certain interesting facts about elections. It's a human right. Exercise the choice. You have the obligation, responsibility. It empowers people and it helps to prevent electoral fraud and ultimately helps in the administrative functioning. How can you vote? Polling booths, postal ballots, different voting rights, especially the nota, case laws, and the final conclusion besides the mechanisms for voting. Right? Yes. If there are any questions, it would be great if a few of you can turn on your videos. Right? Yeah.
Thank you, sir. The session helped us magnify our cause in the best possible way, all thanks to your enlightening words that inspired so many people out there. So I request the volunteers to drop in your questions and clarifications in the comment section.
Gentle request, those volunteers who are speaking, please turn on your videos.
Hello, sir, I'm audible?
Yes, Naveen, you're audible.
Good evening, one and all present in this wonderful evening. Democracy is based on the conviction that there are extraordinary. Sir, just a sec.
Sir, we have a question.
Yes, please.
It's like after the results of polling, what if the opposition party denies it?
Results of the polling, what if the opposition party denies it? No, India conducts a very fair election process. They have no choice but to accept the election commissioner's ultimate final call. That's why we have EVMs, right? So there are officers to make sure elections take place fairly. The question seems very, it is not possible. Then there will be chaos in the country. So whoever wins, you're going to oppose. And if you win, you're going to be happy. That notion is very wrong. Till now, it has not taken place in India. There has been accusations, but you have to accept the fate.
The next question being, I was registered to vote in my home state, but now I have moved for my job. Can I enroll in more than one place? If not,
No,
how can I
that cannot be
transfer
done.
my vote?
You have to visit the nvsp.in website and fill the form for changing your constituency.
The next question, sir. Process of getting a voter ID isn't that easy, but why is it a time-taking process?
To get a voter ID is very easy, easier than ever before. I have applied myself for 10 people and they got it in a week's time. Visit the NVSP website. Try doing it online than offline. You won't be disappointed. This is my challenge.
The next question, sir. How long will it generally take to get a voter ID?
To get a voter ID, see, I have got it in a span of 2 weeks. I have applied and got it in a span of 2 weeks. Usually you get it maximum, say 2 to 3 weeks. That is what, I applied for on behalf of some of my friends during the election time. It gets speeded up that time.
Sir, the next question by Maya Mohan. Why is the present generation of India showing disinterest in voting?
Like I had highlighted earlier, Maya, what happens is the disinterest comes from seeing maybe your best friend not showing any sort of interest. You're influenced by your peers, you're influenced by your friends. The disinterest also happens because you are least bothered to actually follow the functioning of your nation. If you really want to be politically involved, you need, if you really feel the sense of getting the sense of being an Indian and you're not able to exercise your voter right, then I suggest you seriously start considering to vote. The reason why youth are disinterested is because there is a whole section of media that is brainwashing people that, nothing is going to happen for this country. That sort of notion. It's a very dangerous notion. You need to witness change. You need to go out and vote. Right?
The next question, sir, from Vigila Mariam. What is your advice to the youth who believe that Indian elections do not provide voters with eligible candidates?
See, Vigila Mariam, the thing that we are not we are not provided with eligible candidates is not absolutely right, because you have so many youngsters who are out there to canvass for a particular candidate. There are well-educated politicians, there are well-educated leaders. It's probably because you are not fully aware of what actually is the particular, how they actually, their qualifications are. For instance, Lalu Prasad Yadav, people used to make fun of him, but hardly anyone knows that he's a first rank holder, LLB holder from Allahabad University. Okay, how many of you know that? Lalu Prasad Yadav was a rank holder from Allahabad University. Okay, so he's very aware, he's very socially aware. Even if the less educated political leaders, you will find, I'm not naming them, but you have them in Kerala. For example, now I don't mind naming them because it's the truth and the media highlights it. V.S. Sachidanandan, the former Chief Minister, Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, he was just having hardly any school education also. But he went on to become the Chief Minister. Why? Because he had the political vision. So it's not merely education. Of course, education is important. Today, others you will be looked down upon, but it's your political knowledge that counts. Your understanding of the pulse of the people that counts. So people who are disinterested really need to understand how your political leaders think. Then your notion can be changed.
Thank you, sir. The next question. I went to the polling booth, but someone has already voted in my name. What can I do for that?
We had a similar problem which I had highlighted here today in today's session, in today's webinar. Right? So you really need to intimate the election officer. You need to supply your proof. Once you do that, that confusion can be solved.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to have answered all the questions patiently. I now request Naveen to pay the vote of thanks.
Good evening, one and all present in this wonderful evening. A democracy is based upon the conviction that there are extraordinary possibilities in ordinary people. I'm Naveen, the volunteer of NSS. It's a matter of pride for me that I am proposing the vote of thanks for this meeting. Hi, on behalf of my colleagues and the entire committee, first of all, I want to thank the chief guest, Sir Cyril Jacob, who gave his vital time in his busy schedule with this grace the meeting. I'm sure we will put to use to all the contents in our practical life. And I would like to thank the principal of St. Joseph College, Reverend Father Dr. Victor Lobo, and Sir Prasad CN, the NSS officer of St. Joseph College. And also thank our NSS program officer of New Horizon Degree College, Sir Girish N. I take this moment of pride to thank the students committee of NSS for putting so much effort in making this program a successful one. And at last, thank you to all the NSS volunteers who patiently listening and connecting with us through chat. Without the volunteers, there would have been such a good, successful webinar. And thank you.
Thank you, Naveen. As we are wrapping up, I request all the Josephites and Horizonites to fill the form given in the description on the YouTube link. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you, sir.